All right, we are live.
There we go.
Opening up Board of Health on January 15th, 2025. Roll call.
Patrick Tropiano, yes, here.
Susan Dory here.
Lawrence Perry here.
And Amy Vigan here. First is discussion and possible vote on Sienna Silver Body Art Apprentice Permit. Patrick McDonald, do you have any comments that you want to?
Nothing in particular. All the paperwork that we needed is in order. It's in your packets. You're welcome to look through it. And I believe the shop owner was able to make it via Zoom. I think I see your name up there, so if you have any questions for her, feel free.
Is she, we can,
What is it?
is she
Liz.
Liz?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Liz, hi, we can.
Hi, thank you for taking us in today. I hope that we can get her a permit approved.
Great. Sienna, would you like to present? Tell us about yourself and.
Yeah, it's nice to see you all again. I'd like to learn how to tattoo. I'm currently at a welding job and apprenticing at Dusk Till Dawn already. And yeah, I'd like to expand and also learn how to tattoo.
And you do welding also right now?
Yeah, I
Where?
do part-time in the mornings.
That's where do you,
Interesting.
what kind of welding?
I do MIG welding at Factory 5 Racing. It's in Wareham.
Oh. And I see you have a lot of your, just recently gone through your TB and CPR and first aid and all, last fall or winter. And you would be starting to work then and dusk to dawn?
Oh, I already have been working. I just work part-time in the mornings as well. I have 2 jobs.
And this is a apprentice permit, so you've already,
She's a piercer already, apprentice.
and this is for Barty Eye.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone have any questions?
No?
And so the apprentice is maximum 2 years. And it's always with, it's always with your supervisor with you.
Yeah, of course.
That's,
Anybody else?
what's that?
Just
You-
double checking. I didn't think there was anything,
Nobody else has anything?
Nobody else? Okay.
I move we vote to authorize Sienna Silver as a body art apprentice for what shop is it?
That's it on.
Dusk to Dawn.
And I second that. And roll call vote.
Patrick Tropiano, yes?
And Amy Viga, yes.
Okay,
Congratulations.
thank you.
I appreciate it.
Next is discussions on animal regulations. We have the present regs in our package.
You need to pass the area.
And you, Mr. McDonald, you sort of had gone over and had some recommendations to start with.
I figured since we've been going through them all, the easiest way it seems is to take the original sections, read through them, have everybody take a look at them now. We can go over some of the changes that I've already got written down in my notes. And then when we come back, we can have another draft document that's got some changes and then kind of work off of that.
Mhm.
With the animal regulations, I think, as Larry has alluded to before, there's quite a bit in here that seems to be focused more on what I would consider to be animal control versus what we're really equipped to and have regulatory power for. Most of these sections are like that, unfortunately. Specifically, when you get into the chickens, a lot of these building requirements are really actually not us, it's the
And
building
the horse,
department as far
I
as
think
the
we talked
structures
about this
and-
6 months
correct.
ago, the horses and ponies, how to build stables and
A lot of that
exactly
stuff
how it's
really
not
isn't-
necessarily public health.
Exactly. And most of our public health stuff for stables is strictly for riding stables, not necessarily private ones. And I think especially in here, the horses and ponies section is really tailored towards what appears to be private stables, not what our focus is, which is like large riding stables like you'd see in the other towns that are around us.
There are none in Wareham, are there?
We don't have any riding ones.
I know
know.
Middleborough, Rochester,
A little more room, so it makes
Mhm.
sense to have them. The Bourne has
Warren,
one.
but yeah,
One is two.
I know some people with private horses, but
Ingersoll Farm, that's a lot of horses.
yeah.
But even as you work through the front page here, number 2, construction of buildings, I don't see anywhere in our purview where
We have any building.
we have any
Right.
ability or reason to give instructions on constructing structures as far as the animals go. Same with ventilation, it just ties back into the construction of the building. I don't see any reason to keep it. 4, I think 4 really falls under animal control. They do inspections for the animals every single year. They go out and check stalls and check the animals, go through vaccines and all that stuff. That really doesn't fall on us. And we'll get back to this at some point, but there's also ultimately no teeth in any of this except for the rooster section, so these are really a guideline or a please and thank you kind of thing. That there's nothing as far as enforcement goes in these regulations.
And does somebody else have, if somebody wanted to build one of these, are there the prior recommendations through the state, through animal control, so that instead of us having them, somebody could find them somewhere
Even just the building code, as far as building the structure goes, there's minimums for
for everything?
every accessory building, yep.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, getting into changing out nesting, how you're dealing with cages and perches, feeding stations for animals, I don't see where that falls into our purview per se. When we have animal control doing stable inspections, going out and checking on health and welfare of the animals, I don't really see where that necessarily falls onto us. I keep circling back to what Larry said, but it really made the most sense. But our biggest focus should be in some of these sections, how close we're allowing them to our wetlands, how close we're allowing them to high water marks, things like that.
And perhaps, the animals can be, if the animals are kept poorly, then they can infect people.
Yes.
So for that, having a general statement that you should be following guidelines for good sanitation for the animals, but maybe not the specifics of it, so that people could go back and most people, I would think, if they're building a stable or building a coop or would do some research, but I think there should be some general comment about it, certainly if you have birds and you have a lot of birds, the whole bird flu issue, or salmonella with eggs, and there are some issues that would hurt people.
You get sick.
5, A, B, and C, I think make perfect sense. They deal with storing and dealing with manure and waste. D, for some reason, deals with animals at large, and if they're not in their pens or enclosures, they're considered to be at large when off the property. That has no bearing to me whether they're on or off the property. I'm not gonna go wrangle people's horses.
Right.
We have animal control and I have no ability to do that, so
Right.
it just,
That's what animal control is for.
it being in here doesn't serve a purpose. It just makes this document longer for the purposes of doing so. I don't know. Same thing with horses and ponies. Number 1, I'm not certain they have any ability to regulate what vaccines are administered to the horses. I believe that falls under animal control. They usually check vet records when they do animal inspections. That kind of falls under their
They
purview.
do the kennel, do they do the kennels, the dog kennels and stuff?
We don't even issue those permits anymore either.
Really?
We're gonna get to kennels too. That goes through the clerk's office now.
So the animal control will go out and look at if somebody has a horse,
We do
even
stable
private,
inspection,
they'll
yeah.
go and look at a stable once a year?
The animal control officer is the town's designated animal inspector.
It'd be interesting to see what their requirements are. Not that we need to do it, but it'd be
Yeah.
interesting to see it.
They have a whole book they fill out and submit to the state every year. I only know because we had these regulations, we used to go and do all those inspections with them, but as time went on, it became obvious there was no reason for us to be there as well.
Right.
We're
Are they
the
online?
Animal inspector. I'm not sure.
If not, we
double
could
check.
look online. If not, it'd be interesting to have them here.
I'll have to double check. But so yeah, the 1 and 2, 1 deals with specific vaccines for the animals. I really don't think that falls under our purview. And 2 talks about how to correctly build the stable down to the feet and inches that are required for animals. I don't see that.
Does talk about a stable permit is required annually. And is that needed from us?
It is.
And then there should be a brief statement about that, and
I think the intention was to fall in line with the state's requirements, and the way they read it's still geared more towards riding stables, like a larger facility with more animals, not necessarily your small backyard pen with 1 horse, or maybe 2.
Well, the horses are restricted by the amount of land you have,
And then again, yeah, there's also that restriction that doesn't involve us entirely. It's
so
so
much per land, which makes perfect sense because otherwise you might as well.
and what's the definition of stable too? I know people that have, not here in town, but like in Westport, that have horses
Yeah.
that just have lean-tos and they stay outside
Right.
summer and winter. They sort of rescue horses from the racetracks. And so do we need a definition of, what happens if somebody has just that, a horse outside here, do they need a stable permit then? So
I think C is probably the closest to being in line with what we're doing. Protecting and managing waterways and water resources. The rest gets into housing the animals, how to build the stalls, how big each different type of stall has to be, what it's made out of, the bedding you provide, water. This is how to feed your horse section. It's an entire page we don't need in here.
every horse that is in Wareham has to be registered through the town?
I
Or
don't know-
not?
I don't know of any registration.
Not necessarily, no.
So if they have a horse but don't have a stable, then they don't need a permit? Because right here, it says a stable permit is required annually.
They
so
would
if
need
some-
to go through zoning to have it. It's not necessarily that
If
it's a
somebody has a large,
registration,
big
but yeah.
piece of land
Yep.
and decides to have a horse and just a lean-to, then they don't need a permit? Is that what I'm reading?
They would need one to build the structure, but then after that, if they meet all the other requirements, not necessarily, no.
Okay.
You have
Somebody
two
has 10 acres of
places
land
like
and,
that, yeah. But if it's appropriate size, I don't see
right, okay.
why they should. I don't think there's anything else in that section worth hanging on to. Get into-
One line seems to be repeated a lot of the setbacks. It says
Yeah.
not less than 100 feet from the high water mark of any source of drinking water supply or tributary thereof,
Yep.
which makes me think it's talking about a water body, like not a well.
Correct.
Nowhere in here did I see a setback to a well.
Exactly.
So the stable, the
We'll get
manure
there.
pile, all that should have
about-
something
It's
about
the
a well in
nitro-
there.
It's about the nitrogen, you know?
We'll get to that at the end. That's in my addition.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Same with, so like, the only section I really, other than C, is Q, and that goes into the storage, but that also kind of just ties back to the original section about storing waste. They're almost identical. It might just be a carryover.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, the point is that you can't have people putting in denitrified systems, having a horse, and then taking the pile, which they create,
Correct.
and putting it,
Next to the
within
system.
50 feet. It doesn't make any sense.
You just negated the entire.
Exactly, you just defeated your whole purpose of having denitrification.
Yep. Kennels. Kennels is a bit convoluted because it's kind of chopped up between different departments as before. You need to get the actual kennel permit from the clerk's office. If it's a commercial kennel, you have to go through building to go through zoning. And with the exception of the setbacks in here, which I don't, these should really be catered towards commercial. kennels, not necessarily if somebody owns 3 dogs.
Yeah, there's a limit, right? How many dogs will you have, then you become a kennel.
It says no more than 3 dogs, so
Yeah.
3 dogs is okay, but
So
not
as soon as you
4.
hit 4,
Yeah,
you're
you become a
considered
kennel.
a permanent
Cats,
kennel.
too.
And cats, but we all know, one, I don't have any ability to track down who has 4 cats, and
And it's
Well,
more
actually,
than,
you do, because, well, for cats would be difficult, but
That's
as far as dogs are,
dogs are
they're
easier,
supposed to be
yes.
licensed.
dogs
So
are, that's what I
somebody
mean,
should know if they got 4 dogs on one property.
Dogs are
downstairs.
simple, that's what I mean, the cats are impossible.
Yeah, cats,
Pick up cats
Yeah,
off the street
cats
on a
are-
regular basis.
you can't, cats go out loose and everything else, no, what are you gonna do? I mean, chase cats, I don't know. You can't, what you could do is just follow the coyotes,
That
and you'll be able to find the cats.
So, I mean, some of these kennel setbacks, I'd be open to discussing maybe keeping some of them, but I'd like to cater them to be more geared towards the commercial style of kennel, not necessarily somebody that, it's real hard to tell somebody that has 4 dogs, they can't build an outside structure within 50 feet of their home.
and they
to
may not
house them.
call that a kennel then.
Technically, we do,
No, but
right now, that's what I mean, when you read them, it's not geared specifically towards the commercial use of a kennel, but just that you are a kennel, meaning if you bump up to that 4th dog or cat in this purpose, you all of a sudden have all these restrictions as far as distance from, like if you wanted to build a really nice outside pen for your dogs, can't be within 50 feet of your house. Because these are for all kennels, not just.
Which is, of course, impossible in most places,
Correct. Exactly. So, I'm not opposed to
in this
keeping
town,
them,
anyway.
Probably more important to be away from the neighbor's house.
That's
Yeah, exactly.
that's half the problem. You ask them to go 50 feet, and now you're jamming it up against the neighbor's house, and they're upset that the dogs are barking all they want.
and most people want it to be close to their house to open the door to let the dog out.
Exactly, yeah.
So,
I gotta be careful with this one, and my dogs are just getting under the fence into my neighbor's yard.
And then again, you go to the next page, you get past, so A, B, C, and D are setbacks. A, B, and C, I should say. D goes into construction and the rest are the same way. It talks about drainage, feed rooms, how, what to use for flooring. I don't see that there's any reason for us to dabble in that when you have to go through building and zoning and get approved to build the structures through them. That's not necessarily our purview. And then four just loops back to the original front page that talks about manure storage. It's the same setbacks. 5, I'm not certain what that's aiming to do. I mean, it has a purpose, I just don't know that.
it's so that if somebody has, I would think that if they even have 4 or 5 dogs, they're not overrunning the place and
Yep.
not taking care. There's a instance of somebody in Marion some many years ago now, back like around 2000, who had lots of animals, lots of dogs and cats and lots of little kids, and it was a huge problem,
But
health-wise for the children.
as Larry can attest to, probably anything as far as that goes, that just becomes a nuisance anyways, and you treat it as such. It's not necessarily you need an animal reg for it. It could be a nuisance odor and you can deal with it that way.
Sometimes it's under housing too. If we go out to it, and the deck is covered with feces, cause they just let the animal go out and crap on the deck instead of.
Yeah.
I actually sent a violation order to an occupant. The landlord was deficient too, so I ended up sending them to both the landlord and the occupant, but that was a whole nother. The new housing code lets us go after both now, whereas before it protected the
And what was
occupant
the
more.
wording for that, as a as a,
In the housing code, it's more of a sanitation issue. It's easier
Yeah,
to treat it that way, yeah.
That's chapter 2, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting because, you can hire people now, that'll come by the house, every week and clean your yard. They'll go pick it all up and see you later.
Yep,
And
off you go.
There's actually companies that do that. They come and they'll clean everything up and see you later and see you next week.
Yep.
Just like cutting your grass.
it's nice.
It is nice.
So your recommendation was that premises, we don't need it at all because it's just under the sanitation code. So that could
Exactly,
be get re-
four is a
rid of it.
repeat, five, we can deal with other
Yeah.
ways, whether that be a nuisance or in the housing code, either way.
I think the shorter you have it, as long as it's covered, will make it much easier for everyone to read and much clearer.
These could, we can get these down to probably 2 pages,
That'd be great.
7, there's a lot of extra stuff in here, I don't think we can. The piggery section, we've been a longstanding no to them, and I believe zoning is as well, I don't know if you can even do that here.
I don't think there's, in the zoning, I think it's a no.
I left it as a question mark, I still have to get an answer, but I believe it's a flat out no anyways to have.
So why even have it in our regs?
That's my question,
Yeah.
if we leave it, is it helpful? If we don't need it, we can take it out.
And how about the folks that have a pig for a pet? There are people now that have pets.
According to this, as long as you don't exceed 3, you're safe. Individually, I don't think it matters to zoning either,
Okay.
but I will confirm that, that's my,
You know, most of them are smaller size pets, but pigs, but some of them can get
The
quite
mini
big.
things, what do they call those, the small ones?
the
Teacup.
teacups, there you go.
Teacups, yeah.
They still get
Yeah, they put diapers on them for crying out loud, they let them run around the house.
Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay.
Pigs, yeah.
The
Yeah, they treat them like a pet. And I guess they're pretty smart.
Yeah.
Apparently, they're smarter than dogs.
there,
Who knew?
the next, the pooper scooper regulation is it's nice in theory, it's unenforceable. We can't,
This is, we need something's gotta happen with this though, because education has to be a big deal here.
yes,
Because if somebody cleans up the stuff in their yard and then they throw it over the fence, and they happen to live next to one thing or another,
Yep.
this is bad news. This is not good. This is why the rivers and everything else have high levels of nitrogen in them, is because of that reason. So you need an educational component. And I don't know how you put it in the regulations, because even if you tell them, unless we put some fines in it, and how do you catch them? You know what I mean?
You don't.
They're not driving, exactly, they're not driving.
And many of the beaches, like down at the Cape, they'll have the beginning, they'll have bags.
yeah,
And they'll have a little, have a place to potentially even throw it out.
And they're not allowed on our beaches.
They're not, and that's always, people have asked, why not just in the winter from November to March or something like that?
I tell you what, we had that.
Yeah, we did
We
it one
allowed
time.
that, and remember up until April.
Yep.
And the problem we had is people didn't, they forgot, they didn't pay any attention to the winter. They figured, well, we're on the beach now, we can just keep going on the beach, so they'd be out there in the summer. So we just made it flat, you
Yeah.
can't go out there. And it's dangerous for it to be on the beach, because you spread E. coli into the water, you get people sick, the whole 9 yards. So it's just easier to just say, no, don't go on the beaches. There's plenty of places to take your dog. We got a dog park right here in town. You can go down and do the dog park, the whole 9 yards, instead of taking them on the beach. I think that's a no-no. That's a no.
yeah, absolutely.
On the beach.
The overarching issue is that there's no way for us to enforce this.
Exactly, well.
One, there's
that's-
no penalty, and 2, I can't stop every person I see walking their dog, but do you have your bags with you? No, alright, now I gotta write your ticket.
Yeah, but you can give them a fine if they're on the beach. We could
On the
set a
beach,
fine on
yes,
the
yes,
beach.
but according to this,
Yeah.
I should be able to stop at the
Yeah,
side
I
of the road,
know.
anytime I see somebody
Walking down
walking the
the
dog and
street.
say,
Yeah,
do you have your
exactly.
bags with you? No, okay, you're
Yeah,
gonna take it.
and then you know what? And then when they take the bag, what do they do with it?
It's not
So,
enforceable as it is.
It's hardly, almost impossible to enforce.
Exactly. Yeah, with the exception of A, which I believe, I think you were still on that board, Patrick, did the selectmen take over, there was a vote for the dogs at the beach, was there not?
No, we let the Board of Health handle it, because
we'll-
it's a Board of Health regulation that you can't be on the beach. And because it is a health issue,
So we'll leave A.
without a doubt, it's a health issue. We originally, we changed it, we went back and forth a couple times, they took it to
But-
town meeting.
That's what I
It
thought.
did go, because we've been told from Board of Health that it really wasn't, it was already voted at the town
It
meeting.
was voted at. the
Because we
town
talked at one point about letting, okaying, whether it should be okayed or whether we should allow some months of the year. So if there is a vote from the town, then that, then
They bring it back every once in a while and it never changes. People.
Should we see what the last vote
Yeah, we
is
can
from
do
the
that.
town?
I'll double check that.
Because if there
not, we
is no
can-
vote from the town, then it still comes under
Right.
us whether we would allow or not some months in the winter or not.
Well, I think once upon a time, and you can look this up, but I
I will,
think I
yeah.
remember once upon a time, it changed, and at town meeting, they decided they would allow the dogs on the beach. And the Board of
remember
Health said, no way, we're not gonna allow it, and they put a regulation in place which overrides town meeting. So it may, that you might need both
I'll
of them,
double check, yeah.
Yeah, that's,
just double check.
So we might need to keep A, that might be,
Oh, yeah.
but we can reword that, that will just be the dogs on the beach.
Yeah, because, sometimes the people don't know what for what they get, And then they'll complain when the beaches are shut down because, there's E. coli in the water and they can't use the beach in the middle of summer.
do we have signs at all of the beaches so people know?
There's usually signs,
Okay.
but just like every other sign on the beach, they
Right, they
like
tend
to
to
walk
go.
away
And the storms take them.
frequently. Yeah.
Let's take them, everything takes them. I
My
don't know what
favorite,
you'd do with a sign that says no dogs, but whatever.
my
I
favorite
get the
animal
whole
section
thing when they
is,
steal the signs with your name on it. Did you ever see a road that had your name on it? Whatever street, people steal those all the time, they take them home, oh, here's my sign, I've did it myself when I was a kid, just so you know. But, no dogs, I don't know what I'd do with that one.
the chickens and rooster sections. It's an ongoing issue at this point with the volume of backyard flocks that we have. It's near impossible to enforce this.
Well, the rooster's a noise issue.
Correct, that's a whole
And the
nother.
noise issue, we have a noise bylaw for that.
Yep.
And we have a department that handles that.
Correct.
We
It's,
don't
it's
handle
not,
noise
it's not us,
complaints.
it's not the Board of Health.
That's right, we don't handle noise complaints.
Same thing, if they're,
If you live next to somebody who has a rooster boy, you're gonna be awfully unhappy, unless you happen to get up early in the morning.
I think the only viable part of all these sections are the buffer zones to be concerned with as far as setbacks to wells, setbacks to waterways, but I think that can be a general, cause they all seem to be 100 feet from each section. If you go through it, it's somewhere between 50 and 100 feet, depending on which animal it is. I think a general section with a setback for all of them is just as simple and short, instead of individually going by animal.
Yeah.
And the construction, ventilation, maintenance, again, that's under the animal, okay.
It's still a bummer though, when you think about it.
Yeah.
So here I put a septic system in my yard,
Yep.
right? I happen to have 2 dogs, right? And I put a septic in my yard, it had to be denitrified. And because of our giant setbacks, I have to do this. And then I have 2 dogs and we, they go out there and they just eliminate my denitrification system.
Well, think of it, this is a very common one. You have 2 dogs and 8 chickens.
Yeah,
You just- Well,
2 horses, whatever.
hopefully not. Or yeah, or just 2 horses. You've just negated the entire thing.
Yeah, I mean, it really negates what you're doing, what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
But, you gotta kind of walk a fine line, I guess.
So again, not only is it difficult to track them all, that it's borderline unenforceable as it is anyways. There's no way to ticket and issue fines per se currently. And I think it would also just be a nightmare.
And that kind of stuff could be done by town bylaw, if
Exactly.
they wanted to do it.
I think that'd be,
It would become a zoning thing. If it became an issue, that's the way it would probably be done.
it seems to be a,
So it'd be interesting to see, we talked about the dogs too, but all the animal regs from the animal department and control office, maybe, I don't know if they're short enough that they can just be emailed to us
yeah. I'll
on our
see-
next,
See what they have over there. The next one's roosters, same thing we just talked about. The biggest part of the roosters is the noise. This is the only section that has any enforcement in it. It's extremely difficult to use. With the exception of people taking videos at odd hours of the night with timestamps, that's the only way we're gonna be able to enforce any of this, and
It says the animal control officer,
yes.
so they have that control anyway, so it's not ours anyway.
and are we still
It says the
having-
Board of Health agent too, I guess.
Yeah, that's, we put both of us in there just at the time because it was such a big issue, but we're finding it more difficult to use this than anything else. It'd be probably better off handled by zoning as a noise pollution or noise complaint,
You know,
Is
the-
flock registration still happening?
kind of. It's very difficult to do with, like I said, the volume of people that can just go to Tractor Supply and buy a handful of chickens in a coop and be done in 10 minutes when they get home. It's almost impossible to keep track of them all. It's
Because it's under rooster. Flock registration will be mandatory for all our homeowners, but it's not under the poultry definite.
circling back to the same concept, it's pretty hard to enforce, and the people that do it now, it's just out of kindness, I think. We're just inconveniencing them at this point for doing the right thing, where not even 100 people probably do it, but there's thousands of them. There's more houses here than not with chickens.
My recollection is it started because of the bird flu and because of potential sickness, that we have a way to get to people. So even if you have 100, they may know other people that you at least can, if there is a problem, that you have a way to contact people and let them know that there's a problem in our area.
And even the state has changed how they're gonna handle that a little bit. It seems to be, it's gonna be a mass notification, and then they'll deal with us on a local level as far as going place to place. It would be more situational.
There was a recent death in somebody from bird flu. Florida or California, but it's unusual for a human death.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago or something like that, I read it.
Have to look up.
It's kind of a bummer when it starts crossing over.
Yeah, that's the first I'd seen in a while.
The waterfowl section is just kind of odd.
So quickly, you have the penalties for violation of regulation. Do you think those should stay the same?
I'd be happy to just get rid of them entirely, because the penalty is for a noise violation, which is not even us.
I think we should send Sam down and have her sit there and watch. If somebody feeds the fowl, ticket.
We've done that. We've sat outside places for hours at a time to try to
It's
an
the
audio clip
feeding
of
the
a rooster, it's-
waterfowl. It's just unbelievable
Yeah.
to even think that we would even waste our time.
Your recommendation would just get rid of that.
I would just remove entirely. The noise violation section is just as sufficient and probably easier to deal with than getting a video clip from somebody between the hours of 7 and 7, timestamped
And
enough
the noise
times. to-
violation works. I mean, that bylaw.
Exactly.
You can,
And then as Patrick just alluded to, the first section of the waterfowl, we would be ticketing people for feeding the ducks.
Just the wild ducks, though.
Just the wild ones, you can feed your own,
domestic
correct,
ducks.
correct.
you can feed your domestic duck.
Ducks, seagulls, pigeons, everything listed in here, it was,
It's almost crazy.
it would be an offense to,
What about wild birds that aren't waterfowl?
they're not listed here, I'm just, geese, swans, pigeons,
I
seagulls.
get complaints about that because
People
of the
feed 'em all
rodents
the
and the
time.
bird feeders.
Yep, good bird feeders. Everybody feeds the
The rat
birds,
feeders at night.
you know?
And what about the hunters
And you
that
feed the
bait
squirrels
them
at the
with,
same time.
with,
Those
you
are
know,
just
they
cute
put out
rats.
fake birds to,
Yeah.
that's not really baiting.
Shoot rats.
Depending on how you wanna look at this, you could treat all bird feeders as a violation, which would
Oh, of course
be
you
a little
could,
bit
yeah.
silly, yeah.
Yeah, because you can't feed them.
Fish and Wildlife recommends no feeding of any wildlife at all.
Exactly.
It's not good for them or us.
Well, I'll tell you, they spend a lot of money down there at Tractor Supply buying stuff to feed those birds, I can tell you that.
I'd be just as happy to remove this section entirely.
What's C mean? Nothing in this regulation shall be construed to limit the feeding of domestic waterfowl as defined by, what are they referring to?
So there's a,
Domestic.
so if you own them,
Pets.
if you have
You own them, you can feed them.
domesticated ducks,
Waterfowl, so.
you can own ducks, and this C is to say that nothing in here prevents you from feeding your
Having
own
your own,
ducks.
if you had
Yeah,
your own,
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah, you can feed your own.
yeah, well, that's sort of
That was
course, that's
assumed,
sort
yeah,
of,
but-
you don't even need, yeah, okay.
That's how in-depth this is about feeding the wild ducks, which again, we don't and can't enforce that.
Yeah.
You would need a staff of 100.
I don't think we need
No,
that.
no.
You'd need a lot of summer hires.
Yeah,
Yes,
it'd be-
winter high, I mean, this is when the hunters are out.
Yeah, the hunters are out there.
They
And I don't think
are.
anyone's gonna be deterred by the
Well,
$25
it's January
fine.
now though, so they're, what are they? Well, shotgun's over for deer, so they're into something. I think a lot of stuff's over now, right? Isn't it over now?
Just about everything, yeah.
Yeah.
So the
And then
next,
you do black, the last thing they do is black powder, I think, right?
No, that's early with
Mhm.
archery, yeah.
With archery, yeah. Yeah, I can't
Maybe
even
we give-
understand that whole thing. I'm not a hunter.
maybe we give these back then and, or new ones. And we have the old regs next time, plus your updated
I will
ones, so we
trim
can
these way
compare
down.
them. I find it easier to have the old regs in front of me.
Yep.
And comparing, that'd be great.
I will trim
Well,
them
it's
way
gonna
down.
go from, what, 5, 6 pages to 1.
It's gonna go from 7 to 2 currently.
Okay. Any other comments? No. So health agents report?
Absolutely. We'll skip over disease reporting as always, catch that at the end. 2 conventional Title V reviews, no alternatives. 3 upgrade perk tests, no emergency responses. Inspections, we'll be kicking them off for restaurants in 2025 again here shortly. Come back around and do those. Beach water sampling, we can't wait, we're so excited as always. We'll be looking to get another intern, the emails just came out for that, so we'll be applying for another beach water intern, hopefully, cross our fingers and get
It
one.
worked well last year?
It did, yeah, we got 2 last year.
From,
One's a high school kid and one was, where's he from? Dartmouth, UMass Dartmouth?
Yeah, the state has a
Okay.
program that they run, to link us up with interns from different colleges and different.
perfect job for the summer.
public health. Yeah, it's a great
Do
one.
they get paid? Yeah.
No, they're usually unpaid.
The college
They
kid
get
got paid.
credits and, he gets a stipend from the DPH. Yeah. Public health nurse Connie's working on all of our disease reporting. She's taking care of Maven for us. It's fantastic to have someone doing that. It's an extremely busy time of year for that, so.
You
Nothing new.
noroviruses?
We have all the viruses like everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everyone and then some, right?
We got them all. Preparedness Coalition, we just did our quarterly drill, updating all of our contact info and going into Web EOC, so we're current with all of that. The rental program is busy as ever. Robin's doing a fantastic job. She's taken over doing the whole thing. We appreciate her greatly. It's very busy. We've upped the fees and things like that, so it's been a little more hectic than it probably usually would be. But we are working through it as always. Quickly on old business, it's not in here in this section, but the tattoo regulations are back from Attorney Bowen. There's a single change. I'm just waiting to get a clear answer on that change. It has to do with the fine structure that's in there, and the statutory limitations at which we can issue fines. So as soon as I get that clarification, I will.
We should. have it for
It'll
next
come
meeting.
back
It'll come
maybe
back,
by
yeah.
next time.
So if we have it for next meeting, then following, we could schedule maybe then another meeting out from that to have the public hearing,
Be done with those ones, yeah.
which would be nice, because it'd be nice to get that out of the way, because, you know, I'm not sure about the girl we made her apprentice tonight, but I'm not sure how many apprentices that the person
She
has.
doesn't have any anymore.
Does it
Just-
have any anymore?
This
it
was
was
her
just
only
her.
This
apprentice
is her first
now.
one? Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
But, you know, I totally agree with that. That's the problem for me, that having too many apprentices.
Yeah.
And we, until we get that in place, we have no say.
Not enough oversight. Very easy to do.
Yeah, it's sad, the apprentice thing is bad. I mean, I can't see how you can have more than one, watch more than one person.
Yeah.
At a time,
Time consuming, absolutely.
and trying to take care of your place too, you know what I mean? So,
And do your own, you have your own appointments.
yeah,
as
and
well.
your own appointments too. So one's plenty load for any one person.
Absolutely.
This works well that we have one being reviewed by the town council and one we're looking at, and we'll just keep processing until we're, you know, and it will just sort of probably continue there forever because things change over the years.
We should be good for a while. This is the last one, the last hurrah.
This is the last one for, we've done everything in the last 24 months or so. Great.
Okay.
And infectious disease report, really, everybody knows there's lots of infectious disease after Christmas and New Year's. Hope everybody had a happy one, but everyone getting together. from the little kids and in the schools to the older folks. So shots are still important if you haven't gotten them. And as I said, we'll look up more. I've just seen that one case of bird flu,
Yeah, we
not
should
in
read
this
that.
state, but it's certainly something worth paying attention to. And I feel bad for all the wildfires out west. It's really pretty incredible with climate change, what's going on. It's a whole nother issue. Next is announcements. Anyone have any new announcements? Maybe also next time we're going to meet would be worth saying too. Let's look at we forgot to do that last time. The next meeting should be the 1st of February, the 5th. Everyone's good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Discussion and possible vote on the meeting minutes from December 18th.
I move we approve the minutes of December 18th, 2024.
And I second that, and roll call vote.
Dr. Tropiano, yes?
And Amy do that, yes. Any other business?
48-hour business, so that is the emergency stuff.
For me.
Move we adjourn.
And I second that.
Dr. Tropiano, yes?
And Amy do that, yes. And thank everybody for coming. Thank you, we're all set.